In this country there exists an ancient constitution which is underpinned by the Magna Carta. It's known as common law, and it is our true law as the men and women of this land. It states that the power lies with we the people, and all it requires of you is that you do no harm to your fellow man or woman, that you behave with integrity and speak with truth. These are your only bonds, to be a good person. It states that the law should be an instrument of justice, not of domination and control. The government should take note. Common law was created to protect the common people of this land. It is common sense, something we haven't seen much of so far this year. Common law empowers you as an individual, a sovereign being. The complex and convoluted legislation used by our governments are created for the exact opposite purpose, to make us feel small and stupid and like we can't fight our own battles. It's the reason we as a people are so lost right now, because we have forgotten who we are and the powers we possess. And it's been orchestrated that way by the same people who orchestrated this pandemic, for the sole purpose of monetary gain and control of the masses. Under common law, the rules surrounding COVID-19 are unlawful and unenforceable. Under a democracy, all legislation must be seen to be reasonable and balance the God-given rights of the individual with the needs of the people. We can protect a vulnerable population without these gross impositions on our freedoms. We have God-given civil liberties under the British Constitution, which protects our rights to life as we know it. Where has that gone? Freedom from torture. Does that include mental torture? Freedom of assembly, as long as they say it's okay. Freedom of expression, as long as we don't say the wrong thing. These freedoms are being taken from us. We are being subverted away from our own sovereignty and towards their supremacy. Boris, you are not our babysitter. Under common law, you quite literally own your rights. They are your property, and no person or group has the authority to take your property without your authorization. We the people created the government, the courts, and the police force. We the people overstand those service corporations. They were created to serve we the people. So how have they managed to take these freedoms away from us when they are ours by divine right? Of course, it's been done through deception. The information I'm about to share with you, the 1% doesn't want you to hear. Let me ask you a question. What is a democracy? And do we live in one? Most people would agree that yes, we do. We vote and our preferred party governs. That is not a democracy. The origins of the word come from the ancient Greek and means the people rule. A democracy means that the people are in charge, and to be truly in charge, we must be in charge of our own laws. Common law is man-made but divinely guided, because it is born of the conscience of the people. Our Constitution gave us the right to trial by jury to ensure that our laws were just. The saying tried and tested comes from our common law. It means that legislation passed by the government has been tried by a jury of the people, tried against their conscience, and if they find it to be fair, the law is allowed to pass. But if one person finds it to be unjust, that legislation can be removed. It's called annulment by jury, and it's how government legislation is supposed to be kept in check by we the people. Under Article 61 of the Magna Carta, the people also have the right to withdraw their consent for any government that is not prepared to hold up and support the Constitution. But these mechanisms for justice have been hidden from us and deliberately watered down for no reason other than to dominate we the people, and to ensure that those whom we appoint to serve us cannot be held accountable for their corruption. Make no mistake, they do not want you to know this, because under common law it is also your right to bring private prosecution free of charge against any public servant that has been involved in passing or enforcing legislation that is deemed to be unfair by the people. Why do you think these truths are hidden from us? They don't teach this stuff because the more people who know, the more dangerous to the service corporations who seek to control us this truth becomes. They rely on our ignorance. In fact, legally speaking, our silence is consent, and our ignorance is our compliance. In other words, it's not their fault that we don't know our own rights. As a business owner, I've been scared of speaking out about how I feel, fearing repercussions, as have so many people in my position. But I am not a business. I am a natural-born woman of this land, and this raises an important point, that under the laws of this land, common law, the rules of civil procedure do not apply to we the people. What does this mean? It means that a service corporation, an incorporated entity, which our government is, cannot bring civil action against a man or woman, but they can bring civil action against another legal entity. And once your birth is registered, that is exactly what you are, and you receive a paper birth certificate with a registration number as proof of this. Society then raises you to believe that that legal entity, that piece of paper, is you. It is not. You are more than a name on a piece of paper. You are a living, flesh and blood being. The legislation created by the government is all on paper, and they only have jurisdiction to control that which is on paper, hence why signing things is dangerous. Remember that even though your birth was registered, you did not consent to it. Even though you have a birth certificate, you did not sign that document. Throughout your lifetime, you will remain a free, living man or woman of this land who is not bound by legislation created by any business. That includes the government and agencies under their control. It is important to be aware that most public servants and those working lower down in the law are kept unaware of this information because ultimately the same has been done to them. Now, you might not have any interest in law. I didn't. But you should have an interest in this, because it is the exact means by which your freedoms are being taken from you. They can be taken back, but only if enough people wake up to what has happened. This knowledge is available to you, but only if you actively seek it out. The only reason I found it is because I'm a spiritual seeker who also has a love of logic, not two realms that usually meet. Common law is directly derived from something known as natural law. The word natural finds its origin in ancient Egypt through the word nejer, meaning God or spirit, and al, meaning of. Natural literally means of God or of spirit. Natural law is the unwritten and unchangeable law of the universe. It defines the rule of law in this country, that there is a higher, purer, supreme, divine wisdom that governs the natural laws of our world. We all instinctively know them and are bound by them and to them. They are right versus wrong, truth versus lies, good versus evil. You see, our common law reaches back to a time when it was common knowledge that within us all exists a map for discovering this universal truth. It's called our conscience, and it's what each juror was asked to use in order to align with and reveal truth. They were instructed to do this independently, so that the course of justice could not be diverted by corruption. The word conscience comes from the Latin con, meaning together, and sciere, to know. Conscience means to know together, because every being has access to this knowledge through their conscience. The understanding of our ability to align with universal truth is ancient, but we have been subverted away from its proper application. Even though this wisdom has been lost, it is still our duty as the people of this land to use our conscience to enforce justice, using force if necessary, but never violence. Violence is called such because it is the ultimate violation of our natural law. I'm using force to deliver this message to you now. Speech is using force to put thoughts into action, speaking your truth to power. Words are a powerful force, and it is your duty to use them when you see truth being subverted. So speak up, even when it makes you feel uncomfortable. Have the difficult conversations. Be the change. There is one other law of the universe which is eternal and unchangeable, the law of free will. Free will allows us to act against what is right, true, and good. The law of free will allows for bad things to happen and bad choices to be made. If you do not act in the face of wrong, lies, and evil, they will be allowed to reign. Right now we are living in a society that through social engineering has lost sight of the distinction between these opposing forces. We are being conditioned to see our very freedoms as selfish. Remember that freedoms have always been taken away from us in the name of the greater good. Our monarch, the Queen, is supposed to be the keeper of our natural law. She is quite literally anointed by God to ensure that God's will be done. God's will is our natural law, brought to the people through common law. It's why our police swear allegiance to the Queen and not the government, because she is supposed to be God's representative and protect the people from corruption of God's will, our natural law. Our Bill of Rights here in the UK also gives us the right, as the people, to petition our monarch directly if we feel our rights are in danger. This is something that we should all have been taught as children, but our parents weren't aware of it. Our grandparents weren't aware of it, but now you are aware of it. To our officers of the law, we respect you as a vital part of our community, but we remind you that it is our common law that you swore to protect and uphold. The oath you took states that you will serve with integrity and impartiality, meaning that you, just like that jury, are to use your conscience in the execution of your duty. You are not here to police illegitimate legislation cooked up by a government who has overplayed its hand. And I would wager that many of you are tired of being asked to enforce these absurd measures. Remember that government can be corrupted, as can any group with an agenda. However, it's far harder to corrupt the conscience of a group of individuals, because conscience always remains aligned to truth. Even if we choose to do wrong, we are still aware that it is wrong that we are doing. This is the precise reason that police are asked to use their discretion in how they enforce law, in the hope that if unlawful orders ever were to be issued, they would eventually meet someone who says, "No, this is wrong," to stop those deplorable words, "I was just following orders," from ever being uttered again. It is time for us all now to stand together behind what is right. This is not about party politics. Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, because they are all just fingers of the same glove. We can have a government that is free and fair, laws that our police will be happy to police us by, the laws of the land, to do no wrong or harm to our fellow man or woman, but not to be told what we can and cannot do with our own lives and our own bodies. As a country, our democracy, which rests on common law, is supposed to be our greatest export, and is the namesake for our common wealth. There are now a number of groups, both here in the UK and worldwide, who are working to reenact our common laws and bring the power back to the people. If this information has resonated with you, it is also your duty to share it. It's about time the world stopped always trying to say the right thing, and instead started saying what's needed. I'll leave you with this. As a citizen of this country, you do have rights beyond that which you've been told. They say that no body stands above we the people, and your knowledge of this simple truth shines a light into the hole where the 1% have been hiding, and forces them out onto a level playing field. So spread the word.